All right, aloha and welcome back, you guys, to another edition of Shakas and Swings. Today is I believe this is episode 4. We record this on Sunday, August 27th, 2022, and pretty amazing weekend in golf, if you ask me. The Tour Championship wrapped up earlier today with Scottie Scheffler blowing a 3-shot lead heading into the final round, and Rory McIlroy roars, coming back with authority, a 4-under final round to capture his 3rd FedEx Cup title and, of course, winning the Tour Championship. If this is our first time meeting, what's up, guys? I'm Hunter Hughes, and I host the podcast Shakas and Swings with ESPN Honolulu. Check us out on all of our platforms here in the ESPN Honolulu suite of media outlets. A lot of great stuff coming at you from all of our platforms. Give us a shout out, give us a follow. We would be really happy to have you, but super stoked that you guys have joined me this week. I just got back to the island a couple days ago. Great time visiting family on the mainland, playing a bunch of golf. Still have some stuff in store for you guys from that trip. But yeah, great time with family. Played a ton of golf. Played really well too, which is always fun. And speaking of playing well, let's jump right back into Rory McIlrae as we kind of start our podcast here. My guy played an unbelievable round at East Lake. Kind of a little all over the place, though, if you ask me. It wasn't the typical hit in the middle of the fairway, middle of the green, 2-putt sort of a round. Rory was a little bit all over the place. I mean, he was hitting the ball off tents, getting the ball up and down out of bunkers, thinning it out of the rough after it had been trampled down by the fans. Thinned one out of the rough, I believe it was on hole 16, and skipped it up onto the green, and luckily it clanged into the pin to slow it down, and Rory was able to save par right there and hold on to a 1-shot lead over Scottie Scheffler, then into hole number 18. And if you haven't watched the Tour Championship yet, it's held at East Lake Country Club in Atlanta, Georgia, and phenomenal finishing course, if you ask me. It's a very testing golf course, but they usually set it up for the guys to go low. They want somewhat of an exciting finish to end the PGA Tour season, and it all boils down to the final hole, number 18, which is a par 5, kind of little dogleg left, heads down the hill, and then this huge lake, one of the lakes, obviously, from East Lake, separates your tee shot from hitting it onto the green, and you have to either elect to lay up short of the green or put all the marbles out there, see what you're made of, and go for it in 2. And so it's a very story-driving hole, if you will. Not all the holes on the tour are like that, but it's really cool to see the final hole of the final tournament of the PGA Tour come down usually to the final hole, and that's exactly what happened. Rory McIlroy hit a great drive down there. So did Scottie Scheffler. And at this point, Scottie was 1 down with 1 to play. And Scottie ended up putting it in the greenside bunker. Rory put his shot up against the tent left of the green. Somehow managed to finagle his way onto the green and 2-putt from there, because Scottie Scheffler hit kind of a poor bunker shot. And Rory walked away with the FedEx Cup title, which puts a cool $18 million in his pocket, which that's a good day at the ballpark for anybody, even if you aren't on the LIV Tour. And we'll get into more of that a little bit later. But this is Rory's 3rd FedEx Cup title. That makes him the only guy in the history of the tour to have 3 FedEx Cup championships. Let me pull up a stat over here as well. But Rory, now that he has 3 FedEx Cup titles, it really starts to put him in the category of maybe historic golfer. Definitely a Hall of Fame caliber career that he's already put together. But starting to eke his way into the likes of Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods in terms of potentially in the conversation of greatest ever. Obviously, there's a lot still to be done for his tournament, but let me put this into perspective for you guys. Right now, as we record this, Rory's only 30 years old, 22 PGA Tour wins, 4 majors, 8 international titles, 10 national teams, so whether that be Ryder Cup or President's Cup, and now 3 FedEx Cup titles. And I wanted to kind of get to this question and pose this to you guys listening at home. Does a FedEx Cup title equal winning a major championship? Is a FedEx Cup the same as a major championship? Because if you look at other sports, you've got football with Super Bowls. In basketball, you've got rings. Baseball, you've got World Series titles. I just finished watching that series on Derek Jeter, the captain, and he always talks about, I just talk about rings. That's how we compare greatness in other sports, is rings, Super Bowls. How many titles did they win? In golf, we have majors. Now, it's kind of a new additive in the modern game of golf that we now have this thing that is now the FedEx Cup. We've always kind of had the Tour Championship, which was kind of seen as just the last tournament at the end of the year. But let's be honest, it didn't quite hold the same sort of weight or gravitas as the Masters, the PGA Championship, the US Open, or the Open Championship, formerly the British Open. And now, as we see the PGA Championship, the PGA Tour ending at the Tour Championship at East Lake, and the FedEx Cup title being on kind of determining after that tournament, I really wanted to ask this question. Does the FedEx Cup need to be considered with more weight now with all of the money that's at stake? Because for forever, if you ask the guys on tour what makes the majors important, other than obvious long-term legacy implications, it has to do with the money. There's a greater payout at majors than any other tournaments. Well, the greatest payout on tour is the FedEx Cup. Rory McIlroy is walking away with $18 million. Any other tournament on the tour schedule usually pockets you around 1, 1.2, 1.3, somewhere in that general vicinity. And then majors are usually about 2, 2.5, 3, depending on which one we are talking about. And so the FedEx Cup, in terms of money significance, weighs heavier than any of the majors almost combined. If you multiply all 4 of the winnings from this past major season, the FedEx Cup weighs heavier than all 4 of those. So my question is, should we be giving more attention in the golf world, in the sports world, to winning the FedEx Cup than just finishing the tour year in style? Because in some ways, with Rory putting the resume together that he has, it's pretty significant if you look at a golf career. And I just kind of wanted to pose that to you guys. And with that being said, we're going to kind of take a break here. We're rolling it out into the 9th hole. I need to get a refreshment real quick, and we'll be right back in just a second with Shakas and Swings. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Shakas and Swings. I am your host, Hunter Hughes. And before the break, we talked a lot about kind of Rory winning the FedEx Cup and kind of the significance of what the FedEx Cup is to the PGA Tour compared to major championships. And I kind of wanted to get to this. With Rory winning the FedEx Cup, even though he's technically not the number 1 player in the world, that is Scottie Scheffler. He came from behind on Scottie and beat him today at the Tour Championship. I think that is a bigger deal for the world of golf than had the number 1 player in the world won the FedEx Cup. And so the reason is Rory McIlroy is now the new face of golf. And sure, you might be wondering, what about Tiger? What about Spieth? What about Justin Thomas? What about Ricky Fowler? Well, Slick Rick is, I don't even know if he's in the top 125 any longer. Poor guy needs to start winning some tournaments for him to be labeled the face of golf. But yeah, for someone like Rory McIlroy, with everything that has happened this past year, I would deem him the new face of golf. He's always been in the mix, but with this recent win with the Tour Championship and thus the FedEx Cup, I think Rory is now the new face of the golf world. He's been widely outspoken against the LIV Tour, specifically against the commissioner or the head of the LIV Tour, which is Greg Norman, all throughout this kind of PGA Tour season. Rory has kind of taken that on as the PGA Tour's almost mouthpiece or centerpiece, the leader against the LIV Tour, and really just kind of contending against what all has been the sideshow that is the LIV Tour. And Rory's kind of taken that on the chin and taken that responsibility and led the way for the rest of the PGA Tour players in combating what the LIV Tour has been doing. And so for him to get this win, it is huge for the future of golf. Also, along with partnering with Tiger in the fight against the LIV and kind of giving the PGA Tour more significance, more of a game plan for what the future could hold, him and Tiger are actually partnering up for the 2024 season to bring all sorts of new golf events to arenas, actually. They're planning on doing them on Monday nights, doing 5 or 6 of them throughout the tour season. They're actually going to be some sort of a mixture between digital and sort of a video game setup and actual players down in the arena playing, integrating with what's on the screen to try to bring a new sort of fan experience to the game of golf, which I'm a huge fan of. Anything to help grow the game, push it forward, and progress the world of golf, I am an absolute fan of. We need a new way of playing the game of golf, of bringing it to people in all sorts of economic situations, people from different backgrounds, different socioeconomic situations. Golf needs to be big enough to include everyone. It can't just be an elitist sport any longer. That narrative has been played out. And someone like Tiger, someone like Rory, with the international presence that he carries, obviously he's from Northern Ireland, I believe, although Tiger is obviously at the end of his career now, sadly, partnering with Rory, these two guys could play a significant role in the next 5, 10, 15 years of what golf could become for the rest of us. We've already seen some additives out there like Topgolf, amazing new venture to help bring the game of golf to people from all over and introducing it to people who may have never given it a try otherwise. I wanted to get to this later, but I'll touch on this now. Tiger Woods has started a string of high-end mini golf courses combined with some restaurant and bar capabilities as well. Think Dave & Buster's, but for mini golf. That's basically what Tiger Woods has started to create around the country. I think they have 3 locations thus far, including a $125,000 mini golf tournament just announced by Tiger Woods. It's called the Pop Stroke Tour Championship. It's going to be on October 26th through 28 in Sarasota, Florida. So if you feel like you have the mini golf skills to win $125,000, registration is literally open right now. Go and see if you can battle against the best down in Sarasota, Florida, and walk away with a cool $125,000. Just give me a cut because I gave you the finder's fee, if you will. If you did hear about it from this podcast, but wanted to bring that up because there's all sorts of new and exciting things happening in the world of golf behind guys like Tiger, guys like Rory, and they are a safe face or a safe personality, if you will, to kind of hitch the wagon of the future of golf to. Rory is just a great example of a professional, someone who wins and loses with grace. That's been a big part of his journey. Hasn't just been winning tournaments. It's actually been crumbling at times, but holding it together with a lot of poise, a lot of maturity. He is a leader and someone that the future of golf can be proud of. And I think Rory is the new face of golf. As we kind of round out this week's episode, it's exciting to see someone like Rory win again because it's a break from the sideshow that has been the LIV Golf Tour. How much is this guy getting paid to leave the PGA Tour? How much is LIV paying out their guys here? Who's suing who? It's little to do with golf, just the sport, the basic who's better than everyone else. Getting back to the golf world with Rory, with a win with Rory McIlroy at the PGA Tour Championship, is just good for the game. It's good for fans. It's not just good for Americans, but it's good for the international world of golf too, with Rory being from Northern Ireland and representing so much more than just the U.S. Side of the golf world, which I think is most significant in this situation because LIV, the vast majority of LIV Golf Tour golf players are international players, and so Rory being that mouthpiece for the PGA, taking a lot of this kind of on the chin. Him rounding this out, rounding the PGA Tour calendar out with a win at the Tour Championship is just absolutely fantastic. Could not be more stoked for him. And that's kind of wrapping up the end of our show as well as the PGA Tour for the year. The President's Cup is set to begin September 20th through the 25th at Quail Hollow Country Club in North Carolina. So we do have a lot still yet in store to kind of explore and see later on with the President's Cup. But that's kind of it for the PGA Tour for this year. And also for this episode of Shakas and Swings. We are so thankful that you took the time to check us out. And we will see you next time. Aloha.